According to Our World in Data, coal kills 32 times more people per terawatt hour than nuclear energy. I know what you may be thinking. Nuclear energy was involved in the accidents that happened at Chernobyl, Fukushima, and 3 Mile Island. Yes, that was nuclear energy, but you also have to consider what I just told you about coal, the leading fuel that we're using right now. Coal still, even with those accidents included, has killed more people than nuclear energy. With this knowledge, you would think that nuclear energy is taking over the market for electricity. This is not true, though. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says that nuclear energy is only makes up 20% of all electricity in the U.S. This is far behind coal, a fossil fuel, which makes up 38% of all electricity in the U.S. In this speech, I will explain why nuclear energy is safer than fossil fuels like natural gas and coal, and how it is also more efficient than other alternative energies like biomass, solar power, wind power, and hydropower. One thing to consider about those horrible events that happened at Chernobyl and the other sites is that they took place a while ago. Chernobyl took place in 1986. This was almost 35 years ago. Now, not only did it take place a while ago, so it was old technology, but it still didn't kill as many people as coal has killed. Now, I'm not saying that this is all right or what happened at Chernobyl should just be forgotten about. I'm saying that it was a mistake and that it wasn't really involved with what modern nuclear power technology is. As the World Nuclear Organization states, the 1986 disaster was a product of a flawed Soviet reactor. It was also a direct consequence of Cold War isolation. They had no safety culture there. They were not up to date with the modern nuclear technology of that time. They also were not sharing the same safety rules that other countries were, and this was due to them being isolated. This makes you wonder why Chernobyl is always used to dismiss nuclear energy. Well, the first reason why nuclear energy hasn't really taken over at all is because the electrical companies with the money to invest in nuclear energy, they don't want to spend the upfront cost of nuclear energy plants. According to the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, nuclear energy plants have a much higher upfront cost than the already running natural gas and coal plants. And after all, natural gas and coal is still around. We may not have a ton of it left and we can't run on it forever, but these companies value profit over public safety. They would rather keep running on what they're already doing than take a risk with nuclear energy, which costs more in the short term, even though it's better in the long run. Don't worry though, there still is a light at the tunnel for a sustainable future. All around the world, activists and the general public has been calling for implementation of alternative energies. Biomass, wind power, hydrogen power, and solar power are all great alternatives, but they're not as efficient as nuclear energy. The fossil fuels we use every day will run out at some point. Renewable energy will be forced to be used by these companies. The U.S. government's Energy Resources site claims that nuclear energy is also more efficient than the other renewable sources that I listed earlier. It's 3.5 times more efficient than wind power and solar power, and it's even 2 times more efficient than coal, the leading source of electricity used today. Again, you'd be wondering knowing that, why would these companies stick with the resources they're using right now to generate electricity? Like I said earlier, the first main thing is the upfront cost of investing in new technology. But As fossil fuels run dry, they will be forced to switch to some alternative resource. One example of nuclear energy or alternative resources being forced has already taken place in 3 states. New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Illinois all already produce majority of their electricity using nuclear power. There are also many other states in the U.S. that aren't far behind, but those are the only 3 producing majority of their electricity with nuclear energy. Remember how I said that nuclear energy has evolved a long way since the events at Chernobyl and other events that took place then? Well, let's take a look at some of the benefits of nuclear energy. The Renewable Resources Coalition lists a few of those benefits. For one, nuclear energy has a lower carbon dioxide emission than wind and solar power, and of course it's much lower than coal and natural gas. This means it's better for our environment, and it'll help with global warming, which is a huge topic going on today. Nuclear power is also a single resource renewable energy. This means that it doesn't rely on outside sources like wind and solar power. Wind power, you have to have a windy area that is continuously windy throughout the whole year. You can't just have one windy season and expect to run off of it completely. Just like solar power, there's places where it's not sunny all year round. It's seasonal, and with that comes issues because you can't always store electricity for that long. So you need a continuous cycle of that. Whereas nuclear energy, you can run it all day long throughout the year with no issues. It doesn't rely on, it's not restricted by factors like that. In addition to those reasons, nuclear energy is the only industry that takes complete responsibility for the waste. The World Nuclear Association goes in depth about waste disposal and how it is basically disposed safely and with modern uses. As you can see, nuclear energy has many benefits over not only the modern fossil fuels that we're using, but also other renewable sources. I hope the information I provided you shows you that it really isn't as bad as what happened or what's portrayed with what happened at Chernobyl. And it's actually been being used for a lot longer and much safer than the fossil fuels. Not only that, but nuclear energy it's the only option at this point. If we want to continue living our life with the modern electrical luxuries that we have, we're going to need something that can provide as much electricity as coal and natural gas. Obviously, those 2 options are out, and all the other renewable sources just can't keep up with nuclear energy. So it will happen. It's the only option, and it's the only renewable option. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.